Welcome to the Sensitive and Neurodivergent Podcast. I am your guest host, Carol Roesler, and we are recording live inside the Sensitive Empowerment Community, which is a wonderful, safe place for sensitive and neurodivergent people and empaths to come from all over the world, be able to be themselves and shine their light and feel supported. Today, we have a very special guest on the podcast, Dr. Judith Orloff. We are so honored to have you here back again, Dr. Orloff, to share all your wisdom and to celebrate the work you do with HSPs all over the world. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yes, this is exciting. We were just talking before we started recording that it is a full moon today, and Dr. Orloff and I love the moon, and we have someone else in common that loves the moon, and that is Aurora, the highly sensitive rabbit. And for those listening that aren't familiar, Dr. Orloff has written the most beautiful, amazing, wonderful book that is not only for sensitive little children, but it's for all of us. In our last conversation we had about it on the podcast, which is definitely worth re-listening to if you haven't heard it, Dr. Orloff shared with us that it really is a book for adults too. And I couldn't agree more because I love this book. And I wanted you to just share the excitement that you kicked off the book tour under a full moon last month. And here we are talking about it again under the full moon. So why don't you share with us just more about Aurora for people that aren't familiar with the book and how the book tour is going. And then I would love to share some of the comments that people have shared with me to tell you about how much this book has meant to them.
Oh, okay. That sounds great. Since I've seen you all, I've been on a book tour and I've gone to a number of different bookstores and book events where I do reading of the book to the children and adults. And so what they do is they all form a little semicircle and another circle behind them. And they look up at you, and I'm reading the book about Aurora. I'm reading the entire book to them.
Oh.
And they're usually very quiet, during the reading. They're very quiet and their eyes are looking up. And it's an interesting experience. And I just read through the whole book. Then I take questions. And so it's just been delightful. Yeah, some of these bookstores, the Huntington Beach bookstore, Barnes and Noble, they build a castle where the children's section is. So it's all castles, and you sit in the middle of the castle when you do the reading, and the children are climbing all around. So, it was really a lovely experience for me. And the children, they were very attracted to the illustrations.
I'm going to hold a few up while you're talking, just so people can see the beauty of this.
Yeah. I asked them if they had any feelings about the book or what I read about it. And they said it's very calming. The illustrations, very soothing and very calming. It's one little girl. She couldn't be bigger than this, when she was talking. And it was just nice to hear where they were. Yes, it takes place in the Sonoran Desert, which is just south of Tucson. And there are many beautiful creatures there that help Aurora come into her own self, her own uniquely different self. And they all help her. The javelina helps her. The spotted skunk helps her by setting boundaries.
I love that one, that you chose the skunk to set boundaries, because that's a little bit fun for the parents as well as a great, role model for the kids.
Yeah. And it's no humans in the book, just all animals. And to me, that it freed me up as an author. I didn't have to deal with the human psyche, and I just dealt with the animals and the sensitivity of the animals. And Aurora was shamed for being herself, and shamed for being highly sensitive, and shamed for being a crybaby. And so she felt like she didn't belong anywhere. And this is her journey coming into herself and learning how to be herself fully, even if it's different than other people, being herself fully and having friends who understood her. So it's very nice. It's a good story for our times now where nobody can get along. It seems like.
It absolutely is. And I was just thinking when you were describing that is the quest that all of us that start out as sensitive little children that feel misunderstood, that especially those of us like you and myself that are empathic, that can feel everyone around us, and we can feel their disappointment or they're not understanding us. And Aurora's search to be her own self, to be accepted by her brothers and sisters, not bullied by them, learning how to do boundaries, and then also meeting all these other creatures, these animal creatures, as her friends. It reminds me of just the feeling of recognition and validation. Like when I first started working with your books, I was like, oh my goodness, Dr. Orloff is like me. I feel those things too. And I did all of your empath survival guide, and there's an intake in there that you give. So if people are listening and they're wondering, well, could I be highly sensitive? Could I be an empath? That is a wonderful place to point them, is besides your website, which is also full of incredibly helpful information. But this book, I want to make sure we emphasize that this is really for the parents, the adults, and the children. It has such a message that carries across all generations about acceptance, and about that our sensitivities are, you told us this before, are our superpowers. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more? Because our sensitivities are so misunderstood, aren't they?
They really are. The sensitivity is what allows us to connect with our hearts to the whole universe and to each other. You and I, the group that's here, we could all connect to each other through the heart as you're listening to us talk and as you're asking questions. It's about coming together, people of maybe different backgrounds, so many differences. It doesn't matter. What connects us is our hearts. And that's what Aurora learned. And she had learned to treat herself with more love and compassion as well, because she was putting herself down, thinking there was something wrong with her. And there wasn't. And there's nothing wrong with you if you have that feeling. But it's our society that's so short-sighted, and they don't come from the power of the heart necessarily. They come from the crazy, confusing mind, that just can't put the pieces together.
Oh, absolutely. And I have some things to share about Aurora and what she's meant to some of the people in the community. And then I want to come back to what you just said, because in your book, The Genius of Empathy, which is an incredible book, I marked a couple of passages where you were talking about our heart and coming from our heart and not our head. And I thought it was such an important message for people to hear. So I'll get back to that in just one second. I wanted to say we've had several people, I wrote some of them down to share with you. Several people shared that they wished that they had this book when they were a sensitive little child. I know myself, I felt the same way, feeling so lonely and alone. I wish if I'd had that book, I would have snuggled up with it in bed every night and felt so connected to Aurora. Somebody else shared, what a gift to teach my son and learn about emotional regulation tools at such a young age. Can you imagine? I was saying to my husband, if I had learned that wisdom that you share in this book when I was a little girl, my junior high and high school years would have been so different. And I know you write about in the Empath Survival Guide about what your high school years were like, because we don't know how to regulate those big emotions. And somebody else wrote that that book is special because it celebrates the sensitive child's ability to feel big emotions, and then also how to cope when things feel too much. That's really important, isn't it? Do you want to share a little bit about, because I think, again, all the adults listening can learn, how does Aurora learn to cope with the big emotions? Like, I'm thinking of the scene, I'll try to find the picture for everyone, where she's down in the little rabbit warren with her brothers and sisters, big storm going on outside, and they hear a coyote, and she, because of her sensitivity, she's worried if that coyote's lonely. That moved me so much. And she doesn't know what to do with all the feelings when she discovers, right, that this storm has damaged her neighborhood.
That's right. It took her home away. But
yes,
even during the storm, and this is so typical of highly sensitive people and empaths, is that they're not just worrying about themselves, they're worrying about the coyote out there who's howling in the rain, and hoping that the coyote's all right. And the parents and the family, I think, were thinking, why are you worrying about the coyote? And it's just natural for us as highly sensitive people to care about our animal family and our people family. And it's we're very basically caring people, who need to find a center and a way not to absorb all the stress of the world also, because we can't absorb everybody's pain. Every coyote that howls, in sorrow, you can't absorb all of it, but you can send love out. And so that's a technique that's so important, to send love out when someone's suffering. That doesn't mean you take on their suffering. And I think that's one thing Aurora learned also, that she can feel that way, but she also had to take care of herself. And she learned from the animals, and the animals weren't pushy. No, they weren't pushy. They said, this is what works for me when I get overloaded. You can try taking a deep breath. You try it too, see if it works. And then Aurora tried it and it worked. So it's simple, and there's no pressure, and there's no do this, do that. It's just, this is what worked for me. You can try it to see if it worked for you. And I like that attitude.
I love that too, because you're giving everyone the ability to empower themselves to figure out what works for them. But
Yeah.
instead of being overwhelmed and thinking it'll always feel like this, I'm always going to feel this overwhelm, or I'm always going to feel too much for the other people that are suffering, you're able to teach the parents, the teachers, the librarians, whoever's reading the story, as well as the little ones, that what you just said, that we can send love from our heart, but we don't have to absorb it. And I wanted to ask you, when you yourself see something, because I know we all kind of moderate what we take in on the news and things, but when you are seeing something around the world that is very distressing or upsetting, how do you personally recenter yourself? Because I know that that's something that would really be helpful for everyone to hear.
Hmm. Well, a lot of times I send out heart energy to that part of the world. And I just say, feel it in myself. I want to send heart energy to this part of the world. And then the energy just moves of its own accord. I don't have to do anything. I just have to be in my heart space. So I'm generating the heart energy, but the energy moves. You make a request and it will go out to help people or help animals. It will do that. And we can do that for other people. And don't ever think you're doing nothing when you do that. You get in the habit every day as a highly sensitive person of connecting to your heart, like see what my hands are doing here,
Yes.
to connect with my heart and open up that warm, it's a warm, fuzzy, loving feeling, just
Hmm.
love. And then ask it to help others, and it will move out of your chest into the world. And so in that way you can generate love. It's like an angel with wings flying into the world.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I could feel all the warm. It felt like a warm heat, like a little
Right,
fireplace
right,
in there, but
right,
not an angry fire, like a cozy fire.
right. A
It felt
cozy kind.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, I wanted to ask you, because there's a quote that when I first got the Genius of Empathy, I opened it up, and the quote from Rumi, I just got chills. I started crying. I mean, just this first quote, I'm going to read it for everyone, and then I want you to share a little bit about why you chose it. And I think it's just incredible for all of us to hear, because it's just what you were talking about. And it says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And immediately I thought of a field with Aurora in it, waiting for everyone, kind of love, and the loving, just the field that you create for everyone. But look what you just taught
Yeah.
us about our heart. But I just wanted to hear a little more about that quote and what that means to you, and why you chose to begin the book with that.
Well, it's a book of unification of all beings. It's forget about what's right, forget about what's wrong in terms of belief systems. Let's go to another field and begin again to communicate with each other and come from our hearts. We don't need to hold on to that old way. It's not working. Just come together, see how we can all be friends, basically. So it's out beyond all ideas of wrongdoing and right doing. There is a field. I'll meet you there.
Oh, I got another chill. That is so beautiful. And I all of a sudden I had this image of how you chose Aurora and all the animals again. because each animal is completely different from the other animal. Like you said, we have a javelina, we have a wren, we have a skunk, but all of them are living in that same Sonoran desert. And we
Yeah.
can transfer that, right, to the whole world. We're all human. We're all on the world. We all are on the same earth that we all want to love and cherish, the earth. And all of us that are highly sensitive are so connected to nature, aren't we?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And we must, really let go of the idea that differences are bad. People are afraid of differences, they're just afraid. And what I'm talking about with Aurora and the highly sensitive rabbit and coming together in the field is for us to make our differences, our similarities magnificent. Just be who we are.
I
Be who
love
we are. Everybody's a little different. Everybody has this quirk and that quirk. Everybody's a human being, and that makes them so interesting. So, you want to just be able to accept, the whole group of us in your heart.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And I think one of the important lessons right now is that people are don't seem to be able to be like emotionally intimate with each other, and that kind of love that you describe in the genius of empathy. And when you were sharing about how all of us can just stop whatever we're doing and send that love out from our heart. I love that image so much. And I while I'm looking for this other page, I wanted to ask you to share a little bit, because if people don't know, there is a beautiful letter in here, the introduction from the Dalai Lama. And what an honor, what an amazing synergy of his energy, your energy. And I just wanted to ask if you'd share just a little bit about what that meant to you to have him, and how did that come about? And I'm going to look for the part that you wrote about our heart. So,
Okay, well, it came about because he's one of the people on earth who I respect the most and who I feel the deepest connection with in terms of a spiritual leader and his courage and his belief systems, and who he's been his entire life as examples to us.
mm,
So I just took a chance and sent my manuscript to his website. And
wow.
I didn't hear anything. And then maybe 4 or 5 months later, I get this note from his office, from his reader, saying His Holiness liked your book very much and would like to write the foreword to it. And I'm like in a dream world, like, oh my God, this
Yes.
major miracle dream come true.
Oh,
And it was real. It was
it
true.
was. Oh my goodness. And he's the embodiment of, if someone came from another planet and said, how would you define the word peace and heart based and love and gentleness? That's who we would look to, right? And so
Yes.
that just, but you are at that same frequency to be able to connect with him. I mean, what you wrote moved him enough for him to write the beautiful letter. So what an amazing gift back to you too, about the impact you make in the world, Dr. Orloff.
Thank you. Yes. Well, for the Dalai Lama, empathy and compassion are very, very important parts of his teaching. And I think the fact that I'm a physician and that, I've had a scientific background and can integrate that also was important to him.
Oh,
Plus, he's just a generous soul,
oh,
a loving, generous soul.
wow. And I think, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because what's so fascinating for those that I know everyone in the community is here because they're very familiar of your work. They're all big fans like me and also been inspired by you. But for people that are listening, because the podcast goes out to 191 countries now, and there may be somebody in some corner of the world that hasn't heard of Dr. Orloff's work. And I think it's incredible how you were able, you have your medical degree and you have your mission to try to help, someone that goes to UCLA and becomes a doctor. I mean, that's an incredible achievement in and of itself. And especially a woman to do that in it's been sort of a traditional male role. At least I was born in 1964, growing up in the 60s and 70s. All the doctors were men, and you would see a nurse that was a woman. And so I feel that you're a groundbreaker in that area. And then you're also trying to educate and bring together, Eastern, Western medicine and the energy medicine too, which is not the way that we're traditionally treated when we go to the doctor. A lot of us that are highly sensitive struggle with finding a caregiver, a practitioner that can actually understand that concept of energy medicine, or what being an empath is, or having those kinds of sensitivities to all sorts of things.
Right. That's so true. And so that's really what my books and my practice is about. Now, how to integrate traditional science and everything good that could come from it, medicine, with intuition, with being highly sensitive, with spirituality and your connection to something greater than yourself, which is always a part of your healing. Now, whatever you're healing, it's always a part. It's never just you. And to be able to bring the genius of empathy into your life, and to really value empathy as a daily practice, and show yourself empathy when you go through hard times.
Mm.
Our world is going through a terrible time. People can't get along. And so you have to be the one to get along with yourself. You start with you, and you have empathy for yourself. You have a bad day, you have empathy for yourself. You have a good day, you have empathy for yourself. So you just do it all the time. You just practice it, and don't get caught up in beating yourself up, because that's what happens a lot in your mind. Just beat, 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 beat. It goes on forever. And so, what I'm saying in the book is to, be aware of that, and want to make a change and become somebody who has self-empathy. And you did a great job in a terrible situation. You were limited. You did fantastic. Good work, as opposed to you blew it. You didn't know how to do this. You didn't know how to do that. You did it wrong. You were stupid. You were you don't want that voice. You did the best you could, and that's fine. So those are the two voices. So part of the empathy work is learning to work with the voices inside of yourself and go towards the loving ones always.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And you made me think of an image of because like Aurora in the book is so, and you talked in our last discussion about how Aurora really is yourself as a little girl. And
Yeah.
we look at Aurora just having this absolutely beautiful open heart that can be worried about an animal that's actually would be considered a predator for most
Right.
rabbits, right? She's able to look beyond all that and connect to the emotional part of the coyote. And so if we think about all of us that are highly sensitive, we come into the world with these beautiful open hearts. All of us, if we were playing together as children right now, we'd all be getting along, wouldn't we? Which is all so happy. And then those voices that you were talking about, we unfortunately, a lot of us are placed in situations where our caregivers are not, just didn't have the understanding of what a highly sensitive was, didn't have the understanding of what an empath was. And so those are some of the tapes. I know through my own work in therapy and through my work working with all of your books and your oracle cards every day, I've been reprogramming the voices from my childhood that were the ones that didn't understand. So I try to look back with compassion, right? We to look back, but those are the voices that aren't true. Like that's what you're teaching us. And
That's
that
right.
loving voice that, like, if Aurora was talking to us, that's how we should talk to ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's part of the genius of empathy, is learning how to talk to ourselves that way. No matter what's happening, life could go easily, things could happen, life could go not so easily, things don't happen, but you still treat yourself the same way. And that's the beauty of empathy. You could feel the power of it. When your everyday life, there's so many places where you could put yourself down or get nervous or frustrated or turn against yourself or turn against other people. You don't want to do that. You want to just pause, take the sacred pause, stop. If you're going down the wrong direction, stop, just stop. And if you can meditate, if you can take a rest, but at least about 5 seconds stop before you say anything, before you send an email, before you do anything destructive. Stop, reorient, think love, think gratitude. and be grateful. Let's say things aren't going well in your life, or you always have to be grateful for the chance of being alive. Now,
Mm,
this experience we have here, it's a gift, and it will be short-lived. We'll come, we're here, we're doing this, great,
yes.
fantastic, what's better? And then you go, time passes and you go.
Yeah.
So, I come from a Taoist training background. So my teacher is a Taoist, and that's basically, you do what you can here to better the world, to better yourself, to better open your heart, to have some fun in this gorgeous planet,
Yes.
and to love all the animals, and and then do what you can to open your heart, help others, meditate, connect, and then you go and you take everything you've learned here with you when you go. So you want to learn things, you want to come from your heart. You want to do everything we're talking about today, because that's what goes with you.
I love that so much. And I'm so glad you mentioned the sacred pause, because that was something that I circled and taught. My daughter's 21. She's an empath. And I've been working with her on that, because if you can learn that when you're in your early 20s, when your brain is even finished forming, amazing. What an amazing gift this book is for all ages. That's another thing I wanted to say. I was going to read a short passage here where you were talking about our heart versus our head, and then have you just elaborate a little more to make sure everyone can hear and understand. So you suggest, as a daily empathy exercise to access your larger self, ask yourself, how can I come from my heart and not just my head? And you said this alerts your mind that you're doing something different. The mind need not fear that it's being replaced. Rather, you're giving it a friendly companion. I love that. Your heart and mind can work as a team. Sometimes you need logic, other times you need your heart, or maybe you need both. And then this part is really, I wanted you to talk a little bit about this. Many people are unhappy and don't see a way out because they don't know how to consciously cultivate their heart. Learning this is life-changing skill. So let's see, for all the people listening, maybe that are in a place where they're just not feeling, how can they connect to their heart? I'd love to have you share a little bit more about that. I think that is just an incredible message in this book.
And it's Aurora's message as well.
It is.
It's you have a head and it talks constantly, and it has opinions, it has judgments, goes up, it goes down. And then you have this heart, which is in the middle of your chest. And this is the center for healing energy and the center of unconditional love. And so what you want to do in your body is to begin to feel that, nice cozy fire that you were talking about, the fire in the chest. To be able to feel that warmth coming in your chest, and the nurturing of that warmth, and the soothing and the safety of that warmth. And get used to putting your hands over your heart throughout the day. That's very nice. And sometimes people put it over their solar plexus and their heart as well, depending on what balance you need. But this is a way of balancing your energy and focusing on something that you love. And this is all about what the genius of empathy is. Focus on something that you love. It could be the forest, it can be the ocean, it could be the stars at night, that you focus on it, or the warm fire, and you focus on it and feel the warmth in your chest begin to well up. And the more you focus on this, the more it will happen. And the more it can feed you and balance your energy and heal you, first and foremost, you. And work with this energy every day. And you can send it to others. You can just visualize your heart energy going out to, let's say, a friend across the country who's having a hard time. So just send it away on its wings of mercy, and there it goes. And so you can do good. So it's the heart opening meditation that I talk about in The Genius of Empathy.
That is so powerful, because it also, you made me think about how comforting that is if someone, say they do see something upsetting on the news, they do overhear something, they see happen, they're at the grocery store, they see a headline or something disturbing. Now they know that they don't have to, because when you are a highly sensitive person or an empath, we immediately, as we said, we just go to whatever that crisis is, or whoever there is in pain immediately. But now, like, you've given us a tool, like we can go into our car and we can take a minute with our heart. We can step into the ladies' room if we need to. We can go out of whatever's going on if we're in a busy setting. We can go by ourselves and we can do that. And we can also choose to who we want to send that extra heart love to. And then we don't feel powerless, right? We don't, like you said, I just want to go back to that message you said was so important. We do not need to absorb all that pain and suffering around the world, but we can take care of ourselves, and then we can take some extra love, we can send it out, and then we did do something.
That's right. And it doesn't take anything from you because you're generating that love. It just keeps going. So when you send it out, you're not going to be drained. You don't have less of it. It's
That's
not like
beautiful. That's beautiful. And if we imagine a world where everyone got up and did that and started their day with their heart all warm and cozy, and then they did what you said all day long. You taught us, don't speak unkindly to yourself, speak to yourself with love. Then more people would be coming from a place of love. And we have to have compassion for these people that are so angry and vocal about their anger or their misunderstanding of other people. They're coming from a very painful place, aren't they? I mean, we can have compassion for the fact that they're living a very different life than we are. We're so lucky to be sensitive, aren't we? Because we can really appreciate all the beauty around, and we also can have compassion even if we don't understand someone else's point of view.
Yes, exactly. Even if we don't understand or agree with them, we can still love them. We don't have to like them, but we can love them as a human being, just as a fellow human, but we don't have to like them because of whatever reasons.
Yes.
So it's not, you could be both. You could be, I'm not particularly fond of this person, but I love their humanity. I'm glad they're human.
That's beautiful. And I wanted to talk a little bit too about, we had a question in the community. We have a member in England, and I wrote this down to ask you because I think we need your wisdom in the area of, we know from what you've taught us that we don't need to go out and prove to anyone that we have intuition or that we have sensitivities. We know what they are. We can be proud of them. We don't need to go out and prove them. But this question kind of came from our community, and I really wanted to get your input. So she says, when it comes to unconventional topics or experiences such as energy medicine, homeopathy, out-of-body experiences, I often encounter people being dismissive of them, saying there's no scientific proof, so how can it be true? Please ask Dr. Orloff, how does she feel about this? Do we really need scientific evidence for everything before we can accept that someone else's experience is valid? Isn't the experience itself enough as a sensitive person? And I just would love to have you talk about that, because we do encounter family members, other people that are in our world that maybe don't understand how we are. And what would you suggest, or how would you like to teach us about that?
Well, I think it's good to have scientific evidence because, the double-blind studies, because it does reach those people who need that kind of information.
Yes.
But I think when you're in need of healing, you need to try different modalities and don't wait for the science to catch up with it if it hasn't yet. Just go and get acupuncture treatments, get 6 or 8 of them, lie there, feel yourself healing and see if it works for you. What's most important is if modality works. And if you have a good friend who says, homeopathy has really worked for me, you might want to try it. It's just like with Aurora, taking a deep breath really worked for me. You might want to try it.
Yes, exactly. Like the Ren says, I go off by myself. You might want to try that. And I was thinking about, and I know, like for myself, I don't go out and tell everybody all around that I do Reiki, but Reiki energy healing is something that's very important to me as an empath, to return to my own energy. And I learned that from your book, and I was fortunate to find a wonderful Reiki master to work with. But again, that would be something I would only be sharing with you or people in our community who are very respectful of different things. But just because that works for me, like you said, it doesn't, everyone needs to find their own thing. And I do think that if someone is in a situation like this person that was asking, another resource in your empath survival guide, you do go into detail about mirror neuron transfer and some of the studies you've done, and how we're firing in a larger area of our brain when have empathy, when we're empaths, compared to, say, a sociopath who has a lack of it. And I'm probably not explaining it as well as you would, but I think that it means a lot to someone for someone else to understand in their family or in their life who they feel there's a potential that they could connect a little better or be treated a little bit better. That's a great resource too, is to go, because you do provide research as well as all the other parts of our energy and how we are intuitive.
Yes, and on my website, I have a whole list of scientific articles that are backing up all of this. So if you wanted to get into it with your relative who doesn't believe, you could refer them to the articles. But, my feeling is don't get, why get into it with them? Just say, there is science on it. If you're interested, I could point you in the direction, or we could just agree to disagree and leave it at that. You don't have to dislike the person because they don't believe in it. It's their loss, that they
Yes.
don't, it's their loss, but I wouldn't get into arguments with them or anything like that, or use it as a reason not to be close to them. Because people don't understand certain things. The human being can be very closed off to certain things if it doesn't fit their idea of how things need to operate. So if they want to take antibiotics instead of going, and getting an acupuncture treatment, go ahead. If that works for you, go ahead. But there are these other options. But if people aren't open to them, you just have to kind of bow, so be it. No resistance. They don't believe in it. That's fine. If they ever wanted to know more, here's some information. But that's it. I wouldn't get into it with them. I'm answering your person in England.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think that's so wise. And you made me think again about Aurora's friend, the skunk, because doesn't it have to do with boundaries?
Oh yes, it has to. Everything has to do with boundaries. I'm so into boundaries. The sacred boundaries that we can set for people and their energy. The boundaries are pure energy, and so you want them to give off good energy as they, say a positive no to someone. No, I'm not ready to do that. I can't do that. Too tired. But then they get a nice burst of heart coming with it.
Oh, I love that, because I wanted to bring up boundaries again, because we talked, and if people wanted to refer back to our earlier conversation, we went into quite detail about sensitive children being bullied. I know that's something that's very near and dear to both your heart and mine. And we know that in the highly sensitive rabbit, that Aurora's brothers and sisters were bullying her, and they were misunderstanding her tears, misunderstanding that, like you said, calling her a crybaby. And that's a situation that's so painful that all of us as sensitive children have gone through, where whatever our reaction to something is completely misunderstood. And I love how in the highly sensitive rabbit, you show that Aurora, she didn't leave her family forever. She, like you said, she didn't abandon her brothers and sisters, but she also created some boundaries. So she said, I won't, I won't be treated like that. And that my tears, we know I've read from your work that tears are a healing way to release energy out of our body as empaths. And also there's like chemicals in them, right, that help us soothe ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It releases stress hormones in tears.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So that's another great lesson in the book that adults can take, because Aurora is being bullied for the way that she expresses her emotions. I express a lot of my overwhelm and my processing through tears. So I really related to that. And instead of, saying, oh, they're calling me a crybaby, I'm never going to have anything to do with my brothers and sisters again, she learned from the skunk, and she learned how to set a boundary. And that's an incredible gift to give a child, isn't it?
Oh, it's such a gift. The reason I wanted to write The Highly Sensitive Rabbit was to give children tools early on so they feel comfortable with their sensitivities, and they don't have to wait till later to learn these tools like most of us did.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't I just had this image of all elementary schools teaching and reading The Highly Sensitive Rabbit. Wouldn't that be incredible? Because you would imagine in a classroom of 20 kids or whatever, at least, a third of them are going to be sensitive. I think don't you think there are a lot more of us out there, but people are afraid I picture it hiding under a little flower petal, because if you don't have a safe place to go, like our sensitive empowerment community, like you're, coming to your website, getting knowledge, immersing yourself in your books and your work. If people don't have that, they could feel very isolated, couldn't they? Because they're
Oh, yeah.
misunderstanding themselves even.
Oh, it's so important to have a group and to have people who understand you, or at least one person. That's what's so wonderful about your group and Julie's group. It's just,
Yes.
a place where you could come and feel safe and understood. That's so important because there are people who will never understand you out there. And so be it. I mean, not everyone will understand you. And there's some mean-hearted people out there too, who take advantage of sensitive people and bully them. And so but we, as parents, educators, friends of the highly sensitive rabbit and child, we need to step in at those moments and defend our child and put that bully in his place and get rid of him or change the behavior, with huge consequences if it continues, to have the school involved too. So that's what we can do as a community to help children. The idea of leaving them in the playground with these horrible bullies and their friends is just too much. Too much to bear for a young, sensitive child. I mean, come on. You have to come in and do something.
Absolutely. I don't think we can say that message enough. And then I keep thinking about if the adults can learn that message, then maybe they could translate it to like a workplace where you have a boss that is being unkind to other people, or maybe a coworker or a manager that isn't honoring the sensitivities and the way that people are. I love how you said at the beginning that we're all the way that we are, and we all need to be exactly how we are. That's how the earth thrives. That's what's so beautiful.
That's right.
I wanted to make sure I had someone in the community sent me. She and her daughter is in high school. She's sensitive. And so she's a 16-year-old and they love the highly sensitive rabbit. So she wanted to make sure that I read this review to you that she's putting on Amazon. The Highly Sensitive Rabbit is such a gentle and loving story that all highly sensitive and empathetic children should read. Indeed, the detailed writing and the beautiful illustrations made me feel so seen reading it as an adult. It brings me joy to know how highly sensitive children will read this and feel the same warmth and also see that they can accept themselves just as they are. Being highly sensitive and an empath can be hard, but it's also such a gift.
Oh, that's such a beautiful review and description of the book.
Yes, isn't it? That it's someone in our community is a dear friend of mine, and she and her daughter are just beautiful souls. And I wanted to bring that one up, especially because it sums up what I felt reading it. But I have a daughter who's 21, who's an empath. She has a daughter that's 16, and you're reading to little children, cross-legged or climbing on a castle at Barnes and Noble. I mean, all these ages need it, right? We all need Aurora's message.
I think that's true. And those that are open to it really need it. And those that are hurting and alone and not seen and not heard, they really need it. They really do need it. And so when you give it to them, it's like changes their life.
Oh, absolutely. It's a gift that gives to them. And then, like you said, it just keeps rippling out because then if they love themselves and their parents, caregivers, and the teachers understand and support them, then the bullying won't be allowed. And then they'll grow as they grow, they're kind to everyone else because they feel good about themselves. And like you said, they don't have to deprogram themselves later like we do our age, our age group.
Right. That's right. We have more skills early on and we have more support early on.
Yes.
That's what our goal is, with your community, with, our books. It's to have that support for everyone, so they don't feel alone. And if they do get bullied, or that somebody says something untoward, it would come to the community. You come, you have
Yes.
something, don't worry about it.
Yes.
It's just another ignorant person,
Oh,
have the heart.
absolutely. And I love the other thing about your work that's so amazing. There's so many places and ways that people can incorporate it into their day. So,
Yeah.
like we've got the lessons in here, the sacred pause in the genius of empathy. You can really just what I've been doing is just sort of opening up a page and absorbing it, as a lesson. And I wanted to mention, because I use your 365 days as an empath every day. I think wherever you are on the sensitivity scale, there's a daily lesson in here for this as well. And I wanted to just be sure to mention that. I know you also have them in sort of an oracle card, empath empowerment card deck that I love. I love to pull them, and people in the community know I often post a picture, and I have a little Dr. Orloff wisdom moment that I share with everyone. Sometimes I share it with the picture of the sunset or a flower or something, and that feels like the energy of whatever you were sharing on the card. But those are beautiful. I love those. And I had marked a page in here because I thought this was so neat, and it also incorporates one of your other books. And before we end, I wanted to bring this in too. You were talking about the book that you have called Positive Energy. And here on July 8th, you were talking about the feeling of goosebumps. And the reason I wanted to bring this in, and I wanted you to share a little bit more, was also for all of us that have our intuition come to us in different ways. But this was such a great thing that you said, that you interviewed music great Quincy Jones for your book, Positive Energy. And Quincy said to you, I live by goosebumps. I get them every time something really touches me. Then I know I've got the right take. Nothing to talk about unless I get the goosebumps. I love that. Do you want to share a little bit about that, about how we should feel in our body and not always up in our head, right?
Well, it's like when you're thinking about what job should I take now, or what's my next path? What do I do? I'm not sure. And then you get this wave of goosebumps suddenly after something, oh, that's the intuition telling me I need to go in that direction. And what Quincy is saying, he doesn't do anything without that. And I also am like that. I won't do anything without that kind of affirmation of my body. It's the body going, yes, 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 go forward. Unless you can have goosebumps that are scary too.
Yes.
So if you're scared and you have goosebumps, then that's stay away. But if you have goosebumps and you're happy and you want to move forward, it's a sign to try it, to go in that direction.
I love that, because there's that, like, our heart speaking to us and our soul, which is in here, and not our head, which can only imagine so much, right?
Yes, but our soul is up here too. Our soul is everything.
Everything.
And the head is part of our soul. The heart is part of our soul. It's not, the head often gets a bad rap. And I don't think that that's good. It has its purposes that are so beautiful and so brilliant, and can analyze things and help you put things together in a logical way. Oh, the brain is just magnificent. And there's the heart. And the French edition of the Empath Survival Guide, there's a picture on the cover of the brain and the heart holding hands.
Oh, I love that, because that made me think of, that's what you are. I mean, you have all this research, all your scientific, you have a degree, a medical degree from UCLA, and you give us research on your website, in your book, but then you also teach us what to come from our heart, to listen from our heart, to put our hands on our heart. That's beautiful. I love that image. Well, I wanted to, as we start to wrap up, I wanted to make sure that you had time to share if there was a message to give to all the people around the world that are listening to this, all people that are in all different countries that are sensitive and maybe feeling, overwhelmed with how the world is right now. That we have to have hope, right? And you've given us some wonderful tools that we can do every day. We can turn to your books. We can put our hands on our heart. And what else can we do to help people feel hopeful? Because we have to stay hopeful, don't we? That the world can can rebalance itself to kindness.
Oh, yes, you must stay hopeful, but maybe pay a little less attention to the world and more attention to your own life and your own happiness and your own tiny little moments. You know, when you see the sun striking a flower a certain way,
Oh,
stop. You know, just stop. Don't think about the world's problems. Look at that flower and be able to put yourself fully present with it. Now,
oh,
don't miss out on the moments just because the world's having a hard time. The world is always at a hard time, through the eons. It's had a very
yes.
hard time. It's a very warring situation in human nature. But don't only focus on that. Focus on the small moments. They're to me, the most beautiful. The large ones are fantastic and amazing, but every day what you're going to be given is lots of small moments.
Oh, yes. It's like you made me think about like when we step outside, the sunset every night is different. It's so beautiful. I live here by the Pacific Ocean like you do in California, and
Mhm.
every night is completely different. And my husband and I take pictures and we look at them, and that's like a gift. No matter how tough the day was, you can step outside and Mother Nature is going to give you something amazing. And that's one of our gifts as being sensitive people, that we can really feel that and take it into our heart, like you said.
There's a time for dealing with the world, and there's a time for giving yourself the luxury of nature and beauty and meditation and quiet and love and just having loved ones around, not doing anything in particular, but just being there with them, being in the moment, simple things. I'm a really big believer in simple things.
Oh, yes.
Happy.
Oh, that's so beautiful, especially as we're coming in America into the Thanksgiving season where we can all be grateful for
Right.
these things. Oh, we're so grateful for your time and for your gift of being here. And I just want to encourage everybody again. Do you want to share a little bit more? Because you're still on the book tour, right? So how
Still on
yes,
the
yes.
book tour.
Right. Well, how can people find and get Aurora into their life?
Well, you can go to my website, which is Judith Orloff, ORLOFF.com. And you can get the book there. You can get the book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and independent bookstores.
This one up too. This one too.
And the Genius of Empathy. That was the one with the forward by His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Oh,
Um,
beautiful.
and you could get them at the same places. And I suggest within your community to discuss topics from the books and have coming together of people, so you can practice the heart meditation with all of you, and to have that group experience as well as the individual experience.
That is so beautiful. We have something inside of our community called the Community Cafe where any member can host a topic. And you just gave me I just got a little chill of having like a book club celebrating your book, and we can share and do that together. I love that idea. And while we were talking, I know we have it focused on just you and I, so we could focus on you, but there's been a chat going on, a beautiful chat. Every now and then one will pop up. People so inspired by what you're sharing. All the people, over 30 people on this call, are sharing together and connecting because of your gift of being here with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Orloff. I'll put in the show notes your website so everyone can find it. All the titles of the books that we talked about. And it's just an incredible privilege for me. You've changed my life for the better. You've changed so many of our lives for the better. Thank you for being an Aurora in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank everyone who has attended this call.
All right. Thank you. Have the lovely rest of your day. And I hope everyone will go out and infuse themselves with more Aurora. That's what we need. More love in the world. Thank you, Dr.
Happy full moon. Happy full moon,
Oh,
everyone.
yes. Everyone go out and look up at the full moon, just like we know Aurora does in the book, and just like I will be, and I know you will be too. We can all make a wish for more love and kindness in the world to the full moon.
Very nice.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Bye bye, everyone.